Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Random Considerations. On this episode, we're going to be making banana bread. I've tried many recipes over the years, and I have to say that this is probably the best one. It's also the first one that I found, and it was so long ago that I actually don't remember where I got it. So if you happen to recognize it, you can let me know where I got it from. But until then, it'll be the mystery banana bread. So the first thing to do is to preheat the oven to 350. And then after you've got the oven going, you're going to want to go ahead and grease your loaf pans. Now, I've greased these two loaf pans, and when I fill them, they'll each be filled about halfway full. So depending on how your batter works out, you just want to make sure you don't overfill the pan. So halfway full is the top, basically as tall as you want to fill the pan with the batter. Now for this recipe, you are going to need 1 1/4 cups of sugar, a 1/2 cup of butter or margarine softened, we will be using butter, 2 eggs, 1 1/2 cups of mashed very ripe bananas. This is about 3 to 4 medium-sized bananas, and these are going to be the black bananas that you wouldn't think to eat under any other circumstance. A 1/2 cup of buttermilk, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, 2 1/2 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of salt, and, if you would like, 1 cup of chopped nuts. Now, I'm not going to actually be using the nuts. I don't really like nuts in my banana bread, so it's really up to you. Walnuts tend to be a good option. Some people will also use pecans, at least here in Texas, where everything is about pecans. But we're not going to add nuts. So, to get started, we're going to mix our sugar and our butter. Our sugar and our softened butter. You want to make sure it's softened. If it's not going to blend very well. Still don't think it was softened enough. I'm going to let you guys in on a secret. I am kind of a hands-on kind of a person. I try to mix these butter and sugar together for you guys with a utensil, but it's just, I'm too impatient. So, hands. Of course, you want to make sure your hands are clean before you do this, right? Yeah, this is much faster. And this is just to get the butter and the sugar mixed together. Even though it's softened, it just keeps getting stuck in the whisk. Okay, so that's pretty well incorporated. I'm going to wash the excess off my hands. Okay, so now that the butter and the sugar is mixed well together, we're going to go ahead and add our eggs. Now here's a trick that, especially if you're not used to opening eggs, to keep from accidentally getting eggshell into your mixture, go ahead and empty the egg out of the shell into a separate bowl, and then, as long as it's okay, you can dump it out of the bowl. That way, if you mess up, you haven't ruined your entire batter. Yep. And even if you're an old pro, you might get an eggshell in there. So now our eggs into the mixture. And then we're going to incorporate the eggs into the buttery sugar, the sugar butter, whichever order you want to put that in. And you want to do this until it's well blended before moving on to the next step. Okay, and once you have all of that mixed together, now you're going to add your bananas, your buttermilk, and your vanilla. Now this is what the mashed bananas look like, and this is probably a little bit more than the 1.5 cups the recipe calls for, but as I said, I like it a little bit more banana-y. So you dump it in, and I also save bananas whenever they get a little too black. I stick them in the freezer until I'm ready to make banana bread. And I've got a lot of bananas in the freezer right now because it's been a while since I've decided to make banana bread. So that's the bananas, our buttermilk, and you would think that just using regular milk would be fine, and it would, but there's just something about the buttermilk that gives it that something special. And the vanilla extract. And then you're going to mix this until it's well incorporated. It's starting to smell really, really, really good. The buttermilk and the banana, the scent of the two mixed together, and it's almost like it just turns up the banana smell. I don't know how to describe it. You'll just have to make it for yourself to see what I'm talking about. Okay, now we're going to start adding in our dry ingredients. And you're going to want to do this slowly, otherwise your flour is going to have a tendency to try to clump up on you. And it's also a good idea to sift your flour before trying to use it. That way you get as many of the clumps out as you can. I'm just going to do a little at a time. And it's going to start to thicken up on you, so eventually you'll have to use both hands to hold the bowl. So that's the flour. We're going to get that mixed in. You're not baking if you don't get some on you. The baking soda, not powder, soda. And your salt. And we're just going to mix this until everything is all mixed together. If you wanted to stick this in a food processor to have an even smoother finish, especially to your bananas, you could do that. I actually don't mind the little chunks of unmashed bananas here and there. You just want to have it as pureed as you can get it. Leaving a few little chunks in there lets you know, hey, this is banana bread with real bananas in it. Not that I've had banana bread without real bananas, but I'm sure it exists. So what you're going to be left with is kind of a, maybe a little bit thicker than pancake batter mixture here, depending on how you like your pancake batter. So we're going to start pouring this into our loaf pans. Using a bowl with a spout is very helpful. Let that settle. Come over to the other one. It helps to get one of these to get everything out from the bowl. It makes the bowl licker very sad because there's a lot left in the bowl for him. But I guess he shouldn't be eating raw egg anyway. Blah, blah. There's a little left for the bowl licker. So here we are. They're pretty full. The one on the right seems a little less full than the left, but I'm not going to make a big fuss about it. So these are going to go in the oven for an hour and 15 minutes. That seems like a long time, but it's going to take that long to cook these loaves. So about an hour and 15 minutes, or until you can stick a toothpick in the center and it comes out clean, whichever comes first. Do not touch the sides of the oven. It will hurt. Not that I've ever done that. So it's always a good idea to set your timer. This is a new timer. Let's learn how to use it together. Kitchen timer. 75 minutes. Alright, we'll come back in an hour and 15 minutes and see how they look. So it's time to take out the banana bread. Grab a hot pad. Get a little crispy around the edges, but they should be nice and kind of a yellowy white color on the inside. So we're going to take our toothpick, stick it in, pull it back out, and it should come out pretty much clean. Got a couple crumbs, but. So now that they're done, we're going to leave them here to cool for about 10 minutes before we do anything with them. Then we're going to try to remove them from the pans. And turn the oven off. You're done. Okay, so now that you've allowed your bread to cool in the pan for at least 10 minutes, you're going to want to use a butter knife to just kind of separate it from the edges, to move it, take it out of the pan and move it onto a cooling rack to let it cool completely. So you'll just kind of edge around the edges. Mine's already pulled away pretty well, but you still want to do this anyway to get some air underneath there so it comes out of the pan easy enough. And letting it cool a little bit also helps it come out of the pan easier. So you tip it over. And mine just slid out. If it doesn't, just give it a few whacks at the back. And then you set that one on the rack. Then you do the same with the second one. That one came right out too. If not, a few whacks. And if it's still not coming out very well for you, let it cool some more and it'll come out. So you'll leave it on the rack. It takes probably at least 2 hours for it to cool completely. Maybe a little longer, maybe a little less. And you'll notice that Milo's, this one came out a little shorter because of the way I filled it. That's okay. So when it's all nice and cool, we'll take a bite and see how it tastes.